Okay, so civilization is ending. Wait, there's more. Don't worry, civilizations do end. That's okay. The civilization that we're in right now, as we know it, is in collapse. Don't be afraid. That's what happens with civilizations. They rise and they fall. The life that we are living is full of confusion and disappointments and suffering. That's okay. Life is supposed to be like that. We have the ancient Vedics who taught us that. All life, all of experience is suffering. The Gnostics taught us the same. It's a corrupt world. It's a mess. It's supposed to be. You're a mess. How dare you? It's okay. You're supposed to be. Everything is as it should be. The hope that I have is that if we can accept that things are as they are, rather than continuing the lie and the delusion, then we can make things better and we can make things easier, but not perfect. There is no utopia and there is no such thing as perfect. You will never be perfect. The world will never be perfect. And that's okay. That's good enough. Good enough is good enough. We must rid ourselves of the ideological leaning towards perfectionism because it is driving us mad. Really, really crazy. And not yet, but soon, people are going to get very, very angry again, and there will be violence again. That's okay too. That's what happens. The reason why this is happening, well, there are multiple reasons why this is happening, but I just want to go through, there's 4 things that this is doing to us at an individual level and at a local cultural level, so that things that you will detect in your day-to-day lives. So there are 4 things that we're all going to see in ourselves and we're going to see around us. I'm going to write on the board if that's okay. Cool. So we're becoming more atomized, which means we're cutting off from each other, and we're doing this willingly. We want this, which is strange, but that's because we find other people unbearable. So we're becoming more atomized, and we are becoming more rigidly individualistic. Individualistic. Okay, we got there. Well done. Good chap. Well done. Well done. The atomization is there because we cannot stand other people anymore. Their imperfections reflect our imperfections. Their shadow, their unconscious activates our shadow. We hate to see that in ourselves. Why? Because we're becoming sick. We're becoming very, very narcissistic, very solipsistic, and we want to think of ourselves as perfect and virtuous. We are not. We are dirty, naughty little creatures, as we should be, as we always were, and that's okay. So the atomization is a drive to get away from bad feeling, to get away from bad feedback. This is London. There are lots of people here. They're quite annoying, aren't they? It's very annoying. People everywhere. It's very hot. It's very messy, and a lot of chaos. So what we crave now is solitude. Solitude from the other. Solitude from other people. I'm going to come back to this because it underpins everything else. So I said that we are becoming sick. We're becoming narcissistic, solipsistic. That is our sickness now, is narcissism. Yes, I'm not saying if you are the victim of narcissistic abuse, it's you, not them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that broad scale, we're all becoming more narcissistic. NPD, as a personality disorder, is becoming more commonplace because people are traumatized. So our culture is going into mass trauma at the moment. The second thing of the 4 things is that we're becoming more rigidly individualistic. And I want to draw some distinctions here between this and narcissism. It is a nuanced point, but the nuance counts a great deal. We are becoming more narcissistic and we're becoming more individualistic. The difference between individualism and narcissism, the first major difference that we need to consider is narcissism is delusional, whereas rigid individualism is merely greedy. It is greedy. Narcissism is exploitative, whereas rigid individualism is merely self-centered. Exploitative. So it actually needs people to dominate, it needs people to take from. Rigid individualism is pleasure-seeking, whereas narcissism is dominance-seeking. You can see which one is going to be more abusive. Narcissism is more abusive than rigid individualism, but even the sanest of us in this culture are becoming more rigidly individualistic, and it's not good. It's okay for you. It's not okay for the people around you. This rigid individualism and latent narcissism is something that we have to work on in ourselves. It's a natural effect of becoming atomized. Well, if you're not part of a community, why shouldn't you just think about yourself? If you understand yourself and you're propagandized to that you're a consumer, that you're an individual constantly, how are you going to think of yourself as an individual? An atom. I'm just one person in a sea of people. It's kind of solipsistic and narcissistic. Actually, we're not that different from each other. Oh God. Actually, we function on very, very similar principles. Actually, the boundary between me and you is pretty slight. And we find that horrifying because we're atomized. You don't want the boundary between me and you to be slight. You want it to be a huge gaping chasm because then there's distance and you feel comfortable again. We want to be the center of the universe, but we're not. It's not a healthy way of looking at the world. Narcissism, as you all know, because you're all black belts in understanding narcissism, craves supply, narcissistic supply through adulation. Excuse me. Rigid individualism craves content, products, services, and content as we would understand it in the social media space. You must consume content and you must consume things to maintain your sense as an individual. Capitalism is key to this. This is not an anti-capitalist speech. I'm not going to get like Communist Manifesto out, but this version of consumer capitalism that we have right now is a disease. And it's poisoning us all. It cannot continue as it is. It won't. I mean, the sickness is already in the beast itself. It's already staggering. After 2008, our economic system went into collapse. It went off the cliff. We thought we were flying. We are falling. There is a difference. This cannot continue. The party cannot continue. When you look in broad scale at different crises that you see in the world, and you actually pop the hood and look behind them and what's beneath them, all roads lead back to Rome. The economic system that we have has been destroyed, and it was destroyed in 2008. It was rendered useless. Money was rendered meaningless. So rigid individualism, you might think, well, I'm not a narcissist. It's just rigid individualism. It's still painful for the people around you when you're rigidly individualistic because you render the people around you ADHD. What? When you withdraw the light of your attention and your love and your care from the people around you, you're making them sick. They need you. They need you a lot. And when you go inward and start thinking only of yourself and what the content you're going to consume and the things you're going to consume and the services you're going to consume are, you abandon them. We don't mean to. It's not by choice. None of this is by consent. The consent is manufactured. But it's not to serve humanity. It's not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of the machines that run humanity. We're in the matrix. We're already in the matrix. We're already there. And the lifeblood that's being sucked out of us is not literal yet. That's next year. It's mainly financial. So the system is overwhelmingly addicted to fake money, and it is collapsing. It has effectively collapsed. We're dealing with a zombie corpse right now that's kept alive to keep up appearances so that society doesn't completely fall apart and we start eating each other, or whatever you would do when societies collapse. The third thing that we're experiencing is hypersensitivity and hypochondria. What's he talking about covertly? I don't know. I can't decode this. Hypersensitivity and hypochondria. Because we are becoming more and more individualistic year on year, decade on decade, our space and how we feel matters more and more, and the collective's feelings matter less and less. Our needs matter more and more, and the collective's needs matter less and less. Eventually, we become so hypersensitive to any change in our emotional state, we think that unless we're elated and content 100% of the time, there must be something wrong. I must be sick. I cannot deal with it. I cannot cope. I'm sick. Something is wrong because I don't feel great, and I'm supposed to feel great all the time. No, you're not. Life is shitty and hard, and this flesh suit breaks all the time, and when it hasn't broken, it aches. Doesn't it? Or is it just me? I'm just getting old. It's an achy, breaky thing. And life is tough. And that's okay. But we don't think it's okay. So now we're hypersensitive emotionally, we're hypersensitive psychologically. Things that you would have laughed at or shrugged off 30, 40 years ago now become a major emotional event. Yes, I know some people are pretending. I know some people are pretending. Some people are engaging in histrionics. It's performative. They're reaction seeking. They're trying to do like a covert bullying, martyrdom complex. It would be like a classic borderline personality disorder manipulation. That really hurt me, so therefore you must. Yes, I know. But it's not just that. We are more sensitive now. We are becoming hypersensitive, and hypersensitivity leads to hypochondria. Number 4, this is a seminar on codependency, but let's talk for a second on straight dependency. So I was thinking about this today, like you take a broad topic like this and you go narcissism, codependency, and the kind of world that we're building. What kind of a world do we want to live in? And I'm particularly concerned now with the world we're creating for younger people. What kind of a world, because we're all going to die, newsflash, what kind of a world are we going to leave behind? How's it going to look for the younger generations coming up? Imagine this generation on the same path it's on now, times 4, times 5, times 6. Are these brave warrior philosophers, kings and queens? No. These will be pretty wretched slobs who will beg and queue to get into the Matrix pods. I don't know if you know the Matrix story, like the backstory Matrix lore. There's a war against the machines, and the machines have to beat humanity and shove them unwillingly into the pods. We will go willingly. We will beg to go into the pods. We're getting there. We're close. It's not even 4 generations away. We are creating dependence. We are inflaming dependency in these children. We're making them believe that they're soft and they're weak and they need people, they need things, they need the state, they need authority to fix their ouchies for them. They don't. You know it. There isn't anybody in this room who's so young they don't remember a time before this. You all remember a time where it was a little, significantly more resilient than it is now. So before we talk about codependency, let's just talk straight dependency. Do we want to create generations of people who are dependent on corporations and the state and big pharma? That's the world we're building now. It's very dangerous and it's very late. It's very late. We start pushing back now, we have a microscopic chance of changing the course that we're on. Microscopic, and it would require a big push and a lot of willpower. If we drift along, keep watching Netflix, keep ordering Uber Eats, not taking care of our own personal space, our physical bodies, our emotional bodies, our psychological, spiritual bodies, we are fucked. I came here tonight just to say that. Thank you and good night. No, we are really fucked. It's really, really bad. You all know what a dependent is, right? So we're creating generations of dependence because we're becoming more dependent, and they're looking to us as role models and they're seeing our dependency. They see our hypersensitivity, our hypochondria. I'm not saying be brutes. We've already tried that. We've tried being barbarians and brutes and savages. It doesn't end well because the weak are consumed. The people who can't smash people's heads in don't do so well in those kinds of environments. It's not a world I want to live in, but I don't want this opposite land as well of hypochondria, hypersensitivity, and the obsession with stopping all pain. We have to let go of that. It's really unhealthy because you can't. The obsession with stopping all evil, let go of that. You can't. None of us can. We're not gods. Evil has always been with us. It will always be with us. We just have to take it. There's a question I asked in the Liverpool seminar. If I have a choice and this gentleman is being beaten up, and I have two choices. One is I can beat up the guy who's beating him up, or I can teach him to beat that guy up. Which is the better option? I hope you'd all agree with me. The second option is the better one. Only I get narcissistic supply if I save him. Saved you, mate. Sorted that out for you. Oh, there's no need to pay me. Oh, you will. Okay, thank you. That's some bullshit. He should be experiencing that. He should have the power to do that. He should be trained to fight. He should be trained to take on his enemies. What kind of a world are we creating? And what kind of people do we want in the world that we're creating for the future? Do we want them strong, capable, tough, able to think critically and handle problems, physical, mental, emotional, all the problems of humanity? Or do we want them weak, whingy, drug addicted, and dependent on the state? We're being bred into like neo-slaves, but there's no crop in this slave plantation. We're the crop. We're the crop. It's bad. It's really, really bad. We're the ones who are getting harvested here. So what's caused this? One of the major culprits for causing this situation that we're in now is knobheads like me on YouTube going on about psychology, unfortunately. Psychology has a lot to do with this. How many of you like psychology? Any students of psychology? It's our fault, okay? It's our fault. We did this. So the psychologization of society and culture has made it infinitely weaker. Psychologization. Oh, it's like a spelling seminar for me. And it's made us rigidly individualistic. Why? I'm going to try and read my own writing here, and it looks like scribble. Jan de Vos said, the phenomena of how the sciences, psychology, became a hegemonic discourse delivering particular signifiers and discursive schemes for looking upon oneself and the world. In plain English, psychology gave us a narrative for how we see ourselves and others, and it's not a good one. Psychologization is a sickness. Yes, you are, in some sense, individuals. Yes, you have personal trauma. There's no doubt. But that is not the most important thing about you. Far from it. And it does not stop you as much as they would have you believe it does. It does not weaken you. Everybody throughout all of human history had personal trauma. Everybody suffered. We're not unique. We just have more words to describe it. Name any great leader, freedom fighter, anybody you admire from history. They had personal trauma. Religious figures had personal trauma. And they got on with it anyway. It's not the most important thing about you, and it's not a healthy way of looking at the world. It's important. But there's many ways of looking at the world that are important. A religious worldview is important. So the psychologization of everything has made us think of ourselves again as consumers and individuals. But we're not evolved for that. We're not evolved for consumption and individualism. We are herd creatures, and we're evolved to survive in very difficult, low-resource environments where shit needs to be done or we die tomorrow. How dare you? So we've lost our significance to each other. You can't just replace the significance that we used to have in low-resource environments by telling people that they matter. I can't just... I'm going to pick on you. You knew this would happen. I can't... What's your name, sir? Deep. Deep. I can't just say to Deep, you matter. You watched The Walking Dead, right? Or you tried to and then gave up. Most of us did. That kind of a scenario where you could die at any moment, or a war-type scenario, and if Deep's the only person who can protect me, I may not personally like him. But if he saved my life a couple of times and he disappears, that's a problem. Do you understand the difference? It can't be symbolic. It can't just be Deep's a baker and I like his buns and that's what makes it... It got Freudian real quick. I'm sorry, Deep.
Oh, no, anytime.
And his shop is called Deep's Buns. God help me, I'm still 15 in so many ways. it has to be real. It has to be a significance that's visceral and existential and life and death. If you're a midwife in a town, if you're a doctor in a town of a very few people and you disappear, there needs to be real consequence to that. That's what we're evolved for. Symbolic contribution counts, but just telling people they matter when they don't contribute is nonsense, and it hurts everyone. You can't just say you matter, you matter, you matter. It's kind of a weird hypnosis. It's a numbing, narcissistic hypnosis to place on people. Like if you just came in here and I didn't say anything and didn't give you anything useful to think about, and everybody just came up to me and went, Richard, you matter. I would fucking love that. Wouldn't be very good for me, and it wouldn't be very good for you either. We have to get back to a place where we are actually focusing back on contribution to a community. I know it's voluntary. So here's another factor. I didn't write this down actually, but our success as human beings, our success as a species has trapped us. We're the victims of our own success. We have light at night. We have an excess of calories that kills us in the West faster than a depletion of calories. We're eating ourselves to death rather than starving to death, is what I'm saying. We have drugs. We have all of these wonderful things, and we're miserable. We're absolutely miserable. We're the victims of our own success. We've got to a point where we've exceeded our evolutionary capacity, and we're looking around now and going, oh, I don't know what do I do? I don't know. Let's just start a fight with each other over something, because that's what we do. We fight, we struggle, we strive, and we don't know what to fight for. So success has been a factor. The psychologization of everything, I think, can be traced back to Freud, who did a good job of convincing the world there is something wrong with you, and it's intrinsic, and it's deep, and it's dark, and it matters, and you can't figure it out with a high priest of psychoanalysis. It was a power grab, and it's been a power grab ever since. Yes, you may be in a lot of pain, and yes, you may benefit from seeing a psychotherapist, but again, that is not the primal way of viewing the world and of viewing people. You're not just a bag of trauma who needs pills shoving in the hole in their head. This one, this one, this one. That's not who you are, that's not what you are, and that's no decent self-concept. We're evolved to so much more than this. When I say the civilization is collapsing and it doesn't matter, part of the reason is because we've been through loads of civilization collapses, and our dumbasses are still here, still whinging about fucking, I don't know, smartphone signals and how late the train is. We're still here because we are extremely tough and extremely adaptable. The meme that's going round that we're weak, that we should be hypersensitive and hypochondriacs, is poison. It's pure poison in the water, and it needs to be overcome. The second thing that has created this is consumerism. I won't bang on about this too much, as I mentioned it before. If your self-concept and your way of life is built around what you consume, either in terms of lovely buns or content that you find online or various political ideologies, it will make you sick. You're not a thing that consumes. You shouldn't think of yourself as a thing that consumes, but all the ideology that we're steeped in convinces us of that to make us consume more. Because if you believe that you're a consumer through a process in psychology called looping, then you will consume. I'm a consumer. I'm here to consume. Give me more things. If I run out of content, I will desire more content. Don't worry, the internet's there to give you as much content as you could ever consume in 1,000 lifetimes. Oh, okay, that's fine then, isn't it? All my anxiety and depression went away. Oh no, it didn't, you silly fucker. It's still there. Because you're not a consumer. That's not your primary purpose in life. These things are necessary, but once we've made them sacred and primal as almost like values, consumerism isn't a value. Narcissism isn't a value. In many ways, these are anti-values. These could be said to be junk values. And the third thing, aside from psychologizations of everything and consumerism, is safetyism, as identified by Jonathan Haidt in his book, The Coddling of the American Mind. Our response to our hypersensitivity and hypochondria is an excessive obsession with making everything safe. Life isn't safe. There's nothing good in life that occurs in safe places. Nothing. I don't even know what you guys want to do. You want to build a business, you want to make some money, you want to get fitter, you want to be in a relationship. Name anything that a person could want to do. You want to get closer to God, you want to transcend this world. It's all risk, all of it. Nothing exists inside the safe zone that is good.
Yeah, but this is comfy. It's warm, it's nice.
That's fucked up, man. You should be getting out there. You should be doing things, living life. What does all this do to our courage and our bravery? It renders us cowards. Because if you believe that you're a consumer who's dependent and you're so sensitive, you're not going to go out and explore. You're not going to strive for what you want. You won't even ask for what you want. And many of you in here can't even verbalize what you want because nobody told you what you want. Damn, that's fucked up. That's what Slavoj Žižek said about ideology. It's not just that ideology teaches you what to want, it teaches you how to want it. That's the matrix. That's the matrix in action. Matrix is a word, by the way, that means womb. So what we're all trying to do now through an obsession with safetyism, psychologization, and consumerism, we're trying to plug back into the umbilical cord. We're trying to get back into the womb. We're trying to get back inside mum. This is Freudian as fuck, and we need to stop. It's in many ways, you could say it's an anti-life ideology. It's an anti-life approach. When we become anti-risk and we try and go back to mum, in a certain sense, that's a death cult. That's a death cult because you're trying to reverse the flow of life. You're not supposed to do that. They'll arrest you. It's like, it's not good. It's not hygienic. Nobody should do that. We all agree. Mm-hmm. Leave mama alone. She did her fucking job. Why do we want this? Because it's easier. Just because it's easier. And life is scary. And life is hard. And life is risky. And there's bumps and scrapes out there. People are going to be mean to you. Whatever it is you're trying to do, I don't even know what your goals are, but whatever your goals are, it's going to fucking suck. That's a good t-shirt. Yeah, it's whatever you do, it's going to fucking suck. It could get Freudian again though. Be careful, careful, careful deep. Now, watching you. This probably is something that we can take on voluntarily. My hope is that we could spread these memes, these ideas, this counter-ideology to the younger people. Get it into schools, get these ideas back into the mainstream so that we can combat this thing that we've been lulled into. It's a kind of a mass hypnosis. We're being lulled to sleep. And sleep is all that's required. That's all they need from you. Do as you're told. Go to fucking sleep. Stay at home. Stay in the womb. That's your house. That's yin. Yin is inside. Yin is safe. Yang is outside. Yang is risky. So when you have ideas like toxic masculinity, you have to talk about toxic femininity as well. When yang is toxic, you have a danger daddy. You have a daddy who's really dangerous. He's going to take you to bad places, do dangerous things with you, and not take care of your safety. What is yin when it's toxic? Yin when it's toxic is a smother mother. She's a bully. She wants to keep you enthralled and in place. She actually is trying to reconsume you. The borderline mother is most afraid of the child trying to leave, trying to individuate. So what I'm going to claim, in a bit of a Jungian way, is the government and culture at large, including corporations that we live under now, is a smother mother state. It's infused with the archetype of the smother mother. We live inside of toxic yin. You can't handle it, boys and girls. You stay home. Do as mummy says. Plug back into the umbilical cord. Don't say a naughty wordy. It hurt the feely-weelies of the other children. It's weird, man. It's really creepy. But we've let this go on for a while. Why? I think one of the reasons why is because we need elements of this. Yin needs yang, yang needs yin. If we just live in crazy yang, we're going to have a barbaric world. So we need a degree of safety. We need to be able to say to the kids who are bullying each other, just because you're bigger than him, don't hit him in the head, please, Hugo. Told you. You've got to stop that. You've got to control that. It should be yin and yang working together in a dynamic way. Yin cleanses yang, yang cleanses yin. The two need each other, they complement each other, or otherwise you end up with death. Safetyism is a culture in which safety has become a sacred value, meaning people become unwilling to compromise safety for practical and moral concerns. Does that ring any bells for you? People are unwilling to compromise their precious fucking safety for practical and moral concerns. That is the world we live in now, and it's not going anywhere good. I'm very concerned. All joking aside, I'm very concerned where we're going right now. I think at the end of this road is gulags and genocides. That's not overstatement. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being dramatic for the sake of it. That's where I sincerely believe this goes to, because if you understand history, this is how it always started. It starts with this shit. Ideological poison. Do as I say, because you can't cope. Give me your power just for now, comrades. Just for now. It's an emergency scenario. Just hand it over. We'll give it you back later. Just put on the little hat with the skull on it. Do you ever see that sketch where they put on the hats and they're like, are we the bad guys? Dressed in black. It's a skull and crossbones. No, we're the good guys. I don't know, we look like the bad guys. So that's toxic yin. And I think that's what we're dealing with now. And I suspect that the way out of that would be noble yang, to have it's not one or the other. It can't be. When you think of the yin-yang symbol, I don't know those of you familiar with Bruce Lee, when he created a symbol for his style, it was called Jeet Kune Do, and he drew arrows around the yin-yang. You're supposed to think of it like a GIF. Is it a GIF or a GIF? We'll say GIF? You think it's GIF? I think that we're wrong, but I like saying GIF. Which of you depraved people says it's GIF? It's not? Nobody says it. I usually get one per... Is it really? Thank God. You are convinced. He's like, it's fucking GIF. Keep doing this shit. It's fucking GIF. Let it go. Okay, it's GIF. So we should think of it as a rolling thing. You should never imagine a yin-yang as static. Think of it as rolling. In Chinese philosophy, stasis is death. The only things that are still are dead corpses. It should be moving at all times. So what I'm proposing is a movement back towards a state where we say, okay, let's assume that people are tough for a change. Let's assume that people, individuals and small collectives, can handle this shit. Because we're all adults. Why are we handing over so much power to the adults in government? Are they smarter than us? I see no evidence of that. Are they more morally righteous than we are? So what are we doing? What are we doing? This doesn't make any sense to me. You should feel as though if you have a dissenting opinion from the mainstream narrative, that you can express it without fear of violence or cancellation. My humble opinion, crazy as it sounds, we should let people talk. Oh. See you in the gulag next week. And the idea that I would suggest for moving forward would be to say, okay, let's start trusting ourselves and trusting each other again. Because all of this leads to a big distrust of the other, to thinking other people are toxic and thinking other people are poisonous. That's a kind of projective identification. We haven't resolved the shadow in ourselves, so we project our shadow out onto other people, and we inspire the worst in other people. So am I okay to sit for a second? I'm going to assume you said yes. I heard yes. When we become shadow activated, we inspire shadow activation in others. The shadow is Jung's way of saying the unconscious. Everything about ourselves that we don't like, that we're not happy with, that is ugly, that is non-virtuous, it gets shoved downstairs into the shadow. If we repress it and we don't deal with it, it comes back to possess us. This is a Jungian term. He was a mystical dude. He believed that people became possessed, not by external demons and spirits, but by their internal demons and spirits. And he even let himself become possessed by his own internal demons and spirits so that he could experience what that was like. He did it for a good number of years. He nearly drove himself completely insane doing that. I think we can collectively become shadow possessed. We have a collective unconscious, we've repressed it, and we're trying to portray ourselves as virtuous. Virtue is good. Virtue is great. But we're not perfect. None of us are. We all have aggression. We all have jealousy. We all have rage. I know that this is difficult because for 8 years I worked with a majority female client base, and I would say, are you angry with your ex? No. No. You seem angry. I'm not. Fucking angry. Let's talk about our beliefs around anger. Did mother tell you that anger was ugly? Do you think anger is an ugly thing? Do you think you shouldn't feel that way? And then you get into the core beliefs and you're like, okay, I think anger and jealousy is petty and ugly and disgusting. Okay, then you're petty and ugly and disgusting in some ways, and that's okay. Can we go there? Maybe. With men, what are you going to get with men? Are you sad right now? No. Fucking sad. Whatever. You seem kind of sad. Well, I'm never sad. I don't get sad. You never cry? Do you cry? I never cry. Okay, do you believe that that's weakness? Do you believe expressions of yang within yin are weakness? They are not. They are not. I don't know of a warrior culture that didn't have some expression for women who were warriors as well. All of them did. It would be different. There wasn't an expectation you'd be frontline, but there was always a way of encapsulating a female warrior spirit, including in the West. That's what Diana is. What's the other word for Diana? Anybody know about Greek gods and goddesses? Diana was also, I can't remember, it'll come to me. She was the hunter, but what's another name for Diana? Huh? Minerva. Is Minerva another manifestation? Do they both use the bow and arrow for hunting? So you've got this warrior manifestation. So that's the yang and the yin. The yin in the yang is men have been creating poetry and sad music for millennia. Look at like the Sufi mystics. Beautiful, sad poetry. Look at Zen koans and Zen poetry, Japanese poetry. It's beautiful. It's sad. It's very delicate. Some of it is very delicate, written by guys who can cut you in half with a 3.5-inch razor that they carry around. We don't need this weird, polarized, boys are this and girls are that. I think it's made us really, really sick. And the way that we've tried to heal that has made us even sicker and more confused. If we can understand and respect the necessity for yin and yang, for the woman and the man, respect the woman and the man. Don't beat the woman and the man. If you see your man having femininity in him, don't shame him for it, don't hate him for it, don't get freaked out. If you see your woman, the man in the woman, the masculinity in the woman, don't hate her for it. That's where it's supposed to be. It's sacred. We need to have reverence for that. And I think that's one of the things we've lost, because we've lost a sense of that which is sacred. Okay, 40 minutes, not bad. I'm going to take some questions now, and then we'll take a break.